Did you know Tide has been upgraded to provide an even better clean in cold water? Tide is specifically designed to fight any stain you throw at it, even in cold. Butter? Yep. Chocolate ice cream? Sure thing. Barbecue sauce? Tide's got you covered. You don't need to use warm water. Additionally, Tide Pods let you confidently fight tough stains with new ColdZyme technology. Just remember, if it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide.
Where would breakfast be without bacon? And why even have pizza without the spice of pepperoni or the flavor of sausage? It's pork that brings the flavor every time. So see your chops, bake tenderloin, and taste what pork can do. This message was brought to you by America's Pig Farmers.
You're invited to spend an evening on Fremont Avenue. For generations, this house has been home to soulful music, good food, and cutthroat card games. Saints and sinners. Unexpected laughs and unspoken truths. Good times, hard times, and of course, family. Always family. So pull up a chair and join us at Fremont Avenue, a world premiere play only at Arena Stage. Performances start October 8th. Tickets at arenastage.org.
The old adage goes, it isn't what you say, it's how you say it. Because to truly make an impact, you need to set an example. You need to take the lead. You need to adapt to whatever comes your way. And when you're that driven, you drive an equally determined vehicle, the Range Rover Sport. Blending power, poise, and performance, it was designed to make an impact. With a dynamic drive, refined comfort, and innovations like cabin air purification and active noise cancellation, the Range Rover Sport is built to be as uncompromising as you. Explore Range Rover Sport at rangerover.com/US/sport.
If you love crispy bacon, if you love spicy pepperoni, if you love saucy ribs, then you'll love the flavor in every bite of pork. Taste what pork can do. This message was brought to you by America's Pig Farmers.
Hello, I'm Sarah, and welcome to the Whispering Woods Reddit and listener story episode. This episode is still part of Season of the Witch, so I have 4 witchy stories to share today. I'll get straight into them. Are you ready for the first story? The Appalachian Witch. This was the most terrifying moment of my life. Always will be. My family and a family friend's family were going on a hiking trip to the Appalachian Mountains. We had rented cabins at a camping site and had arranged certain paths to follow each day of our trip, 4 days long, that we could walk each day. The first 3 days went great. We saw wildlife, had a good time, and talked a lot. But on the 4th day, we were taking a trail that was more secluded and overgrown than the others. We were walking for about 30 minutes when I was hit with this overwhelming feeling of uneasiness. The feeling just stayed there, no matter how hard I tried to beat it back. Then, and everyone else on the hike denies this, I heard singing in a language that I've never heard before. It's like the singing described in the myth of the sirens, sweet and enchanting, yet the music invoked a feeling of fear down to my bones. Everyone else seems completely oblivious to it. I tried telling my dad that something was wrong, but he just told me I was probably tired and that we would stop soon. So about 5 minutes later, and the singing just keeps getting louder. and my heart was racing. We had stopped to rest and eat something as well. I wish with all my heart that we hadn't stopped. About 2 minutes into our little rest, the singing is still getting progressively louder, but my nerves have settled slightly. Then, everything falls silent. Everyone in our group, about 12 people, suddenly turned to the trees to our left. A figure, tall and in a black cloak, was barely visible between the trees. It was a woman, much taller than normal people are, with pure white hair flowing out of her hood. Her head is down, but her face is slightly visible. All that I can make out is that her skin is very pale yellow, like old paper. As we watch, she just stalks closer to our group, finally stopping right at the edge of the trees. She looks up, and I swear to goodness, as long as I live and breathe, I will never forget her face. Her eyes are completely white, with no pupils or irises visible. She had a thin, pointed nose and had a mouth with lips that were stained red. I don't want to know why. She stares at us for a moment and then smiles. It was horrifying. She had no teeth and her eyes began to shine. She then begins to talk. She had a horrible, scratchy, high-pitched voice and said, "Leave this place while you still can. I'll be watching you. Don't try anything." I blink and she's gone. Everyone is silent. This is my first time telling this story to anyone else who didn't experience it with me. And I never discuss it with anyone who did experience this with me. It feels good to share this experience with someone. Well, you wouldn't have to tell me twice. I'd be out of there too. Scary witchy woman in the woods, it's all yours. Are you ready for the second story? Terrifying day in Oklahoma woods might have ended up like a famous unsolved murder case. So this encounter happened many years ago, and I was very young. It was in 2001 or 2, and I was 11 or 12 at the time. My uncle was interested in purchasing some land near Red Oak, Oklahoma. I don't know exactly where, but it was several acres in a very remote area. My father, mother, and myself decided to accompany him one Saturday to scope out the property. From our home, it was little more than a 3-hour drive, but we all loved riding in the car. So while it was not going to be the most eventful road trip, we went just to get out of the house. Upon arrival, I remember being very underwhelmed by the place. No houses anywhere near, and hardly even any signs of life at all, apart from a few birds, and the wooded area wasn't exactly what I call picturesque. Still, we parked our car off the road to go explore the woods a little. My uncle was talking about buying the land for hunting, not really my cup of tea. As we walked through the woods, it was a very nice day, but still something felt off. Everyone in our group remarked about the eerie feeling, but my dad and uncle seemed to laugh it off. My mum had goosebumps and kept looking over her shoulder, which made me on edge too. She was very insistent that it was weird and she wanted to leave, saying it felt like she was being watched. After a bit of hiking, I noticed that there was a small red building. I've seen bigger storage sheds in the suburbs, but it looked well built. My uncle said there was nothing about it on the listing, So we went to take a peek inside. The door was open, and inside there were open cans of food, a ratty blanket on the floor, and it stunk unlike anything I'd ever smelled before. Following this discovery, we all agreed it would be best to get back to the car if there was some crazy hermit living in the woods. We didn't want to be around to find him. Only issue, we had walked pretty far into the woods, and now weren't exactly sure which direction was correct. The eerie feeling really amped up, and we were all on edge. We ended up trekking another mile before we finally found the road, but we were further down from where we had parked the car. But at least we could just follow the road now. Walking along the road, we came across a truly unsettling sight. Right in the middle of the asphalt was a dark grey cat on fire. I have no idea why a cat was out in the middle of nowhere, or how it came to be killed and set alight. Obviously this has just happened, but there was no one in sight. Naturally, we ran the rest of the way to the car. There was a huge scratch in the paint, all down the side of it from hood to trunk. Thankfully, that was the only damage, and my dad was able to start it without any trouble. And we drove away as fast as we possibly could. My heart is sped up just recounting the moment. Definitely one of the scariest of my life. Needless to say, my uncle did not buy the land, and I'll always remember this terrifying encounter. But like anything over time, I sort of pushed it into the back of my mind, and it just became one of those odd moments you occasionally retell at family get-togethers years later. So much that it's almost just a funny story. The reason I'm sharing this is because I was reminded of it last night while binge-watching some episodes of BuzzFeed Unsolved on YouTube, when they shared the story of a family that disappeared in the same area, while also looking at some land for sale. The disappearance of the Jameson family is the name of the mystery in the video if you're interested. The family died in the same area we were searching, roughly 7 years after we made our road trip there. There are many theories about their deaths, including the allegations of some sort of cult in the area, complete with something about dead cats. Coincidence? Probably, but the whole story gave me chills. So did my family narrowly avoid being killed by some witches or a cult or whatever? Or did we just stumble upon a hermit who didn't want us in those woods? The poor cat. What was going on? I'm so glad that they went away, but how frightening to find out after the fact and several years later, something bad happened to another family who were in quite close proximity. That's really scary. Are you ready for the third story? A student of mine told me about a thing he saw walking strangely and very quickly. I will preface this by saying I am not trying to categorize what this person saw as a skinwalker. I think this is a useful category, but it is at times broad. I will only describe what he saw. I chose this subreddit to post on because I believe this sighting does fit nicely into this category, but I'm relatively unfamiliar with skinwalkers, so I don't want to force it into this category if it doesn't belong. When he and I and a few other students discussed what he saw, skinwalkers came up by name. So did Wendigo. We loosely refer to it as a skinwalker, but mostly just as it. So I'm a high school teacher. I love my job. I teach math. which I love and the kids hate. So to keep the kids on my side, I frequently give them breaks just to talk and do whatever. So by now, my students know I love talking about certain topics, including the paranormal, but especially UFOs. We actually listened to The Hunt for the Skinwalker audiobook yesterday in the class that this student is in. So today this student, super smart and talented kid, I might add, charming, witty, a great young person, says to me, "Hey, I have a story." He was driving to his home from the gym at about 9:30 p.m. some day last week. He said he was feeling great, had a great pump, everything. He was turning onto his street when he saw a bipedal thing moving quickly in the direction of the road he was about to turn onto. It was an open field, and he said it was the colour of my classroom wall, basically white. But when I said it was white, he would say no and say it was the colour of the wall, lol. He said it was tall and slender, but not just skin and bones, still muscled. He said it was moving at a speed similar with his car across this field, and said its legs were long and it had big feet. I'm struggling to exactly recall or honestly make sense of how he described its legs and locomotion, and I'm going to ask for clarification tomorrow. But it also seemed like he was struggling to describe it in the first place. He mentioned its knees being prominent, but also that it seemed to have that weird classic dog leg thing going on, but only when its leg was back. He said when the leg was forward, it bent like a human leg. So I'm kind of imagining it taking these first tiptoe-looking steps, where when its leg comes down and back, it maybe changes shape or something. He said its arms were long and it had witch fingers. He did not see a head or neck on its shoulders. We looked at that classic 4chan Skinwalker trap cam picture where it's looking at the camera, and he said, "That's what I saw, but without a head." He said it left a taut, blurry trail of its own image as it moved. And then the oddest thing of all, he said it turned into a street sign. So I asked for a lot of clarification on this, but he seemed as confused as I did. He said he watched it cross the street and blend into an existing street sign and disappear via this transformation. I've suggested he could return to the location of the sighting and see what he can find or remember. I find this person's report credible, in that I believe that he believes himself. I know a heck of a lot more about stuff in the sky than on the ground though, so I wanted to bring this to this community. Please let me know what you think, or especially if this rings similar to other encounters. What a cool teacher. I wouldn't have minded being in that class, and I hated school. As long as we got to speak about UFOs and spooky stuff, I would have been there at the front. Not sure what it was, but creepy. It made me think of Toby, because he's going to the gym every night now, practically. And I better keep an eye on him. It's that season. Something might be following him home. I'm not having that. Are you ready for the fourth and final story? This is a story about Zuni witches, shared by a Zuni friend of mine. The Witch Baby, an old Zuni scary folk tale. This is a very old story I heard from my elders about a witch couple and their baby. I still get chills hearing this story, but the story goes as it was told. This happened at the middle village of Zuni, long ago, before there were any form of outside lights and such. A woman there had just married her second husband. Her first husband had just passed away less than a year, and she had already remarried, which is a taboo in our beliefs. She had to wait 4 years before getting remarried, but she didn't, and fell in love with a man that took her in. The new husband was not normal. He was a witch, and using his poisoned words, he convinced the women to get initiated into his witch society. So she did, and became a witch herself. She and her 2 kids, a daughter and a little son from her first husband, lived with the witch man, until one day she went out to get water at the well. She was gone for a while as her husband tended the kids at home. Looking at the kids, a thought came to his head. He went out and looked to see if his wife or anyone was at the well. There was no one, so he quickly fetched a pot of water and ran back home. As he got home, he put the pot of water in the fireplace and began to boil it. Then added a red feather to the pot. The water boiled hot. He then walked over to the youngest infant, a baby boy, about 8 months old. He smiled at the kid and walked towards the boiling pot. He lifted up the cover and put the baby in the pot. The baby boiled up and down so he could put the cover back on, and started speaking in strange tongues. As he was doing this, the woman returned from the well and noticed a pot of water boiling, and saw her husband laying face up on the floor, nude, body painted black and white and shaking. She slowly walked up to his face. The husband's eyes were pitch black and wide open. She got scared and shook her husband to wake up. As she did, the man woke up and let out a loud scream in her face. The scream sounded like a baby and a beast dying. She got frightened and screamed. She ran to her daughter while the husband shook and screamed on the floor. She then noticed her son was missing. Just then, her husband snapped out and was in pain. "Where is my son?" she asked. The man looked at the pot and said, "I'm initiating him into our society so we can all be together." Smiling at the woman, she cried, "No, you can't do this to my baby." She couldn't stand it anymore and walked over to the pot and opened the cover. She looked in and saw her baby staring upward with his eyes wide open, not even blinking, and lifeless. She took her baby out, but it was too late. The poor infant was dead. She screamed and cried where others could hear her. The people stopped by asking what's the matter. She lied to the people, saying the pot tipped over and scalded her baby. But the people saw the husband and thought otherwise. Just then, the husband snapped and went crazy, screaming at the people to get out. As this happened, the husband fell dead on the floor. Blood ran out of his mouth, eyes and nose. The woman tried to get the people out of their house, but the people already knew the couple were witches because they saw how the husband was all painted up. After that happened, the woman went so crazy she kept her dead baby as if he was still alive. For days, she walked with her toddler daughter in the fields holding her dead baby. Then one day, she just disappeared, never to be seen again. This is an old story my elders spoke of. They say the baby died because the initiation was interrupted by the woman, and the evil the husband summoned fell back on to them.
The old adage goes, it isn't what you say, it's how you say it. Because to truly make an impact, you need to set an example. You need to take the lead. You need to adapt to whatever comes your way. And when you're that driven, you drive an equally determined vehicle, the Range Rover Sport. Blending power, poise, and performance, it was designed to make an impact. With a dynamic drive, refined comfort, and innovations like cabin air purification and active noise cancellation, the Range Rover Sport is built to be as uncompromising as you. Explore Range Rover Sport at rangerover.com/us/sport.
You're invited to spend an evening on Fremont Avenue. For generations, this house has been home to soulful music, good food, and cutthroat card games. Saints and sinners. Unexpected laughs and unspoken truths. Good times, hard times, and of course, family. Always family. So pull up a chair and join us at Fremont Avenue. A world premiere play only at Arena Stage. Performances start October 8th. Tickets at arenastage.org.
I wanted to include this. I know it's more of a folklore story, but I thought it was just really interesting and good to look at other cultures and how they sort of passed on their sort of moral warnings. It's really great. I love it. And also spooky. Well, that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you again tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
If you love crispy bacon, if you love spicy pepperoni, if you love saucy ribs, then you'll love the flavor in every bite of pork. Taste what pork can do. This message was brought to you by America's Pig Farmers.